Ladies and gentlemen, we have made history today. Tesla stock has broke out to a new all-time high, and this really paves the way for an even larger rally. Tesla stock at the time of recording this video is $416.34 per share, and yes, it's pretty volatile today. You're hitting again a new all-time high at the time of recording this video. Now you're almost at $417 per share, with the next target really being that 420 level. Now we do have quite a bit of breaking news today for Tesla that I will share in this video. First, before we get into your Tesla specific news, let's discuss what is going on in the markets today, because Tesla is a clear outperformer. In fact, the RSP, the equal weight S&P, is barely green today. It's up 0.18%, yet the S&P is up almost 1%. You're really seeing big tech that is dominating. Apple up 0.5%, Netflix up 2.5%, Nvidia up almost 3%, Google up 5%, Microsoft up 1.5%, Amazon up 2.3%, and Meta is up 2.5%. So in other words, today is really not a universally good day for markets. This is actually a pretty sucky day for some areas of our markets, and it's because of CPI. Sticky inflation is back, or as it seems like it is. Core CPI printed at the high side of expectations at 0.31% in November, holding the 12-month rate at 3.3%. A 6-month annualized rate rose to 2.9% versus 2.6% last month, and the 3-month annualized rate was 3.7% versus 3.6% previously. Now, Nick Timmerhouse gave us these estimates from major banks for core CPI month over month. In fact, UBS was correct. They were spot on at 0.31% for their estimate. Every other Wall Street bank was lower than this. So you came in way at the high side of estimates. The median forecast was 0.27%. Is this some kind of disaster? No. But it's not good either. Some good news, though, within this report is CPI shelter that slowed a bit further in November, rising 0.33% after a 0.38% rise in October, and a 0.22% rise in September, and a 0.52% rise in August. It is up 4.1% on a 6-month annualized basis, the lowest since June of 2021. So if we are going to see shelter come down, that is going to drive down inflation on a month-over-month and year-over-year basis in 2025. And I think that's going to happen, but it is going to take some time. Now, this is a very important thing to mention in regards to markets today, because a lot of small caps and interest rate sensitive names are not doing that great. It's really big tech. When inflation spikes, investors, they pile into big tech because their earnings are more predictable. They're larger companies, perhaps they're less impacted by inflation, and there just tends to be a crowding into big tech names. Now, what's different right now and today versus what we've seen previously during higher bouts of inflation is Tesla normally would get sold off with higher inflation. Instead, Tesla's hitting new all-time highs on higher than expected inflation. And a lot of this obviously has to do with things that we have mentioned here on the channel before, like the fact that 2025 is very much likely going to be a great year for Tesla, as long as there is no recession, as long as the Fed is not forced to raise rates or any other black swan event, if you will. Tesla is the best positioned stock, in my personal opinion, to have a good 2025. Maybe not even a good, but a great 2025. And everyone on Wall Street is starting to realize that. What also could be moving Tesla higher as well today is some optimism for Robotaxi following news that the loss-making Cruise unit is reversing a strategy for the technology that was once considered a top priority for the group. In other words, Cruise is no longer going to operate a Robotaxi system. Cruise is going to try to essentially do what FSD is doing today. They're going to try to make the vehicle drive itself instead of creating a Robotaxi service. That is less competition for Tesla. That's going to mean Tesla is going to have a higher market share. Oh, and in another piece of historical news today, Elon Musk has become the first person to surpass a $400 billion net worth. And honestly, if Tesla continues on this trajectory, Elon Musk could be a trillionaire next year. But we will have more of your Tesla stock breaking news in just a moment. First, let's look at the option activity that has been driving quite a large chunk of this move higher in Tesla recently. We are currently in a gamma squeeze. We have been in a gamma squeeze for a while, and I think it's going to continue at least until the start of 2025. So the rest of December can likely be categorized as one giant gamma squeeze. Volume today to the call side is 61.11%. Volume to the put side today is 38.89%. That means you have almost 2 times as many calls being bought for each put. If we look at specific option activity today, we have seen 298 different trades totaling $275.18 million with a positive order value of 89%. These trades are really looking at hedge fund and institutional option activity, since most of these trades are north of $100,000 per trade. Not a lot of retail investors are making trades like that, so it's fair to say these are hedge funds and institutions. And considering that, almost 90% of all trades are positive, favoring Tesla stock to move higher. That's a good sign that you're probably going to continue higher. And since we are in this continual gamma squeeze, I have been showing you guys recently the individual strikes and where the option activity is. Okay, so if we're looking at this Friday's expiration for December 13th, so far today, you have 12,500 for volume at the 417.50. Okay, that's not a lot. But look at that. The 420 call has 105,000 for volume today. The 430 has almost 31,000 for volume today. These are pretty high numbers. The 450 call has 33,000 for volume today with 18,000 in open interest. It's actually the second highest strike for open interest by this Friday. And number one is that 420 call with 41,000 for open interest. So it is possible that Tesla could be a $450+ stock by the end of this week. Tesla's short interest of free float actually did move higher a little bit. Today it's being reported at 2.77%. Take a look at the dollar amount sold short in Tesla, not including the move today, which is 77 million times 16. Okay, that's the dollar amount of essentially a loss that short sellers are taking today. So $16.50 times 77.3 million, but let's just say 77 million is an actual loss today of I didn't do that right. 16.50 times 77, we'll add the 0.3 in there, is an actual loss today of about $1.3 billion just today. So the dollar amount is currently $31 billion that's sold short, but add another 1.3 billion to that, you're looking at $32.3 billion now sold short in Tesla. These guys are taking some massive losses. And typically when a stock breaks out to a new all-time high, it doesn't just stop there, right? Usually you break out to another decently, further or higher price during that all-time high breakout. So I don't know if that's going to be 420, again, 450, 500, what the magical number is going to be. It could be higher than where we are right now, and it likely is going to be higher than where we are right now. You can see today there's 1.23 million shares that are actually being covered on today. So yes, as Tesla is at a new all-time high, some shorts are starting to cover on short positions. But think about this for perspective. They would have to cover the amount of shares that they covered today 77 times to get down to no short positions in Tesla. Just to, cut the short position in half, you'd have to see this many shares covered today 37 times over again. A short squeeze at this point is most likely, in my personal opinion, heading into year end. I've talked about this before, but this rally so far, I want to be very clear, is not a short squeeze. It's not. Shorts have not covered in large numbers. This is the highest at 1.23 million we have seen for any given day so far. If it starts a short squeeze here, Tesla is easily going to be a $500 stock by the end of December. But obviously anything can happen in the markets. I am not a financial advisor, nor am I a fortune teller. I try my best to be as accurately as possible, and sometimes may seem like a fortune teller, but I promise you I am not, and there can be unforeseen things that happen that nobody can account for. So keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor, and you could lose all of your money investing, specifically if you opt to choose to trade options. I feel like as Tesla garners more attention, I should probably put a disclaimer on my prediction. But with that said, I would love to hear your projections and or predictions for Tesla stock down below in the comments section. How high do you think Tesla will go before we top out at these new all-time highs? And apparently it's being reported today the Swedish union is pissed off because Tesla is still thriving despite the strike. They say it's bullshit. Global Elevance has a new report out today that says, quote, less than 1% of EV owners switch back to gas-powered cars after making the purchase, according to a new global EV driver survey, which includes over 23,000 people from 18 countries. They say, quote, reports of declining EV popularity are greatly exaggerated, says Peter Hagenland, Assistant Secretary General of the Norwegian EV Association. Honestly, I think it really comes down to charging infrastructure. EVs are not that popular here in Michigan because there's not a lot of charging, okay? California and in other areas, there's abundant charging. So it's not the same issue. But if you live in like Michigan, like I do, you have to charge at home. If you don't, you cannot own a Tesla. And if your home needs an electrical panel upgrade or the wiring does not support you being able to charge an EV, whatever the reason is, and yes, this happens a lot in Michigan, you're not able to get the charging infrastructure installed at your home unless you spend thousands of dollars, and a lot of people don't want to do that, so they don't get Teslas. I had to do that at my home. I had to upgrade the electrical box and do all that. It costs thousands of dollars. A lot of people aren't going to do that. So once you get more charging infrastructure, you're going to see more and more and more growth for Tesla. Elon Musk read this report as well and is making a new prediction today. He says 99% of cars will be electric and autonomous in the future. Manually driven gasoline cars will be like riding a horse while using a flip phone. Still happens, but it's rare. And here's some of your big news today. The Cybertruck has gotten approval in China. So we could soon start seeing Cybertrucks being sold in China. And other big news today, Goldman Sachs has raised their Tesla price target to $345 per share from $250 per share. They say, quote, we believe the prospects for Tesla's auto business, including the growth impact from new and refreshed models planned for 2025 and progress with FSD, including the performance of V13, will help determine the valuation level the stock will trade at, and if the higher valuation multiple is sustained. And unfortunately, I was really looking forward to sharing this with you here in this video. We're still going to, obviously, but it's changed a bit. BMW was tagged by Biber, I don't know, I probably butchered that, on X, where they tag BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz. They say, check this out, isn't that impressive? And BMW responded to this comment and said, very impressive. And then Tesla responded and said, hi, BMW, with a big smiley face. BMW has since deleted that comment. Now, I don't know why they did this. There all of a sudden was a lot of speculation that BMW would potentially license FSD from Tesla. That could be a thing. Maybe BMW wants to delete this so they don't start too much speculation. I mean, there can be legal litigation problems with that. I could obviously see that. But Elon Musk responds to this post and says, too bad. That was one of their best posts. Elon Musk is also making another huge prediction today. He says, unsupervised FSD will start to happen next year. Something we kind of already knew, but it does sound good to hear it reiterated yet again. Tesla's main X account responds to Elon and says, your car will have its own social life and earn a living if you opt in. I mean, I just watched that movie with Megan Fox on Netflix about the robots that go rogue. So I don't know if they should say it like that, I guess. I really hate the movie on Netflix because it is going to create some kind of bad perception about humanoid robots that really shouldn't be there to begin with. Also, in case you guys have not seen, Canoe is down like 52% in 2 days. They're down to 17 cents per share. They're about to go bankrupt. Also reported today that Tesla China November sales hit a record high of 78,856. That's 15.5% higher than October. Sentiment today, as you would expect, is extremely bullish for Tesla over on StockTwits, coming in at 86. Yesterday, it was bullish at 62, so definitely a big jump in bullish sentiment there. Message volume today is high at 74. Yesterday, it was high at 65, and the participation ratio today is high at 55. Tesla continues to run about 5,000 different ads with Google, and as you can see here, global inventory numbers have been pretty well behaved in recent weeks. They did spike here basically across the board in early December. They all kind of fell at the same time. The Model Y spiking up to a new all-time high at 10,536. Not exactly sure if that's an error or if that is correct or not, because all of your other Tesla models, the Model 3 is sitting at, multi-week low, Model X at a multi-week low, and same for the Model S. So inventory overall looks good at Tesla. And Google Trends data for Tesla looks good on a worldwide basis. The Model 3 specifically jumping a lot from 49 to 56. The Model Y staying steady here at 62. Cybertruck at 64. Model S moving up as well to 21, and the Model X at 14. If we do look at just specifically the United States, because we don't get a lot of intra-quarter data from the US, so Google Trends can be a good area to start looking if you're worried about deliveries or whatnot. And I don't think you should be. The trends look really good for the US. Model Y currently at 36, Model 3 at 28, Model S at 12, Model X at 10, and the Cybertruck at 46. So all looks good here. Also interesting today, you can see the VIX is down 3.60%. And I think you're seeing today what I spoke about in previous videos, that as long as CPI was not some big disaster, which it was not today. Yes, it was high. It was not a disaster though. It's really about just knocking out your risk catalyst during this seasonally bullish period of the year, right? Once you get a big potential catalyst out the way, even if it is kind of bad, alleviating that uncertainty is better, okay? And that's kind of where we are today. Now, the leadership is going to look different based on how the data actually comes out. A lot of small caps are not doing well today, even though the Russell is up. A lot of stocks are just in the red, not doing well. The Dow is definitely lagging behind, and big tech is taking leadership today. But I would say overall it is a positive that markets are not down today, even though the data was not the greatest. Now, if we take a look at what markets are pricing in for Fed policy, interestingly enough, you're at a 98.1% chance of a rate cut December 18th. But wait, you're at a 2% chance of a 50 basis point rate cut coming December 18th, which was not a probability before yesterday. There was actually a 7.7% chance of no cut for December. So even though this CPI report came in not great, it for whatever reason caused the bond investors to price in a a greater likelihood of easing from the Fed. 10-year Treasury yields, in accordance with the data, are up today about 3.5 basis points. And that's what you would kind of expect to see with hotter than expected inflation. So in the next video, ladies and gentlemen, we will go over specifically what is next for Tesla, why I think Tesla could potentially even be a $500 stock by the end of December, all else equal, as long as nothing comes out and acts as a black swan event or nothing dramatically changes. Let me know what you guys think about this information down below in the comment section. That is it. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.